Let's talk about Phoenix HTML guidelines. Always use H for Heeks templates, right? Never use the EEX sigil. I think that's what that one is. That's funny. It makes sense. A lot of that has changed over the last few years. So always use the imported Phoenix component form and inputs for. Don't use form for and inputs for, right? Those are outdated. It makes sense that the robot is trying to use the old ones, and we have I don't know when this changed. It's not it's not recent, but it makes sense that the robots are trained on older data. When building form, always use the already imported to form. Yeah. Then access these forms in a template via form field. Yep, yep. Makes sense. Makes sense. Um, oh, this is a sweet one. Add unique DOM IDs to key elements. When writing templates, these IDs can later be used in tests. I think this is a great one for all of us. Sometimes if I write a test, I'll go back and add the ID and whatnot. But this is a cool thing to just keep in mind as you're writing. And I imagine it makes sense if the robot is then writing the thing and then writes a test and then doesn't have the ID, it could get even more complicated. So like it might not know why the error's happening when we know. So makes sense. For app-wide template imports, you can import alias into the My App Web HTML helpers. That makes sense. That's all automatically available and live use and all that jazz. Makes sense. I love this one. Elixir supports if-else, but does not support if-else-if or if-else-if. Never use else-if in Elixir. Always use case for multiple conditionals. If you've done any Elixir, of course, we know this, but it's funny that the robot is trying to write. I think this might be in Ruby or JavaScript. You can do these things. So if-else-if, right? You always want to do cons. Heeks requires special tag annotation if you want to insert literal curlies. Look at that. I actually didn't know this. If you want to show textual code snip in the page, you must annotate the parent tag with Phoenix no curly interpolation. No idea. I had no idea. It's not something I typically want to do, but that's cool. So it's not going to interpolate this, right? Because otherwise, if you do some, variable here, right, it's going to try to interpolate it. So that's what it's saying. You want to actually render those curlies without escaping. Cool. Yeah, nice. Heeks class attributes list supports list, but you must always use list syntax. You can use the class list syntax to conditionally add classes. Always do this for multiple class values. Right. So if we look at this, if you look at the class, it opens a little curly bracket and then the square brackets, right? And you can pass all these classes and always wrap ifs inside brackets with parens like done above. So, right, it's saying here it's using these little round what are they called? Parentheses. And never do this since it's invalid. No, the missing, right? It's just throwing them in there. There's no list, right? It's missing these kind of brackets there. That makes sense. And by the way, if you don't know this, if you have anything that, like if you have conditionals there, like this if condition, this one has an else, but if you had an if that returns a false or a nil, by default, this class attribute will ignore those. So it's pretty neat. Let's see. Never use enum each for non-for comprehensions for generating template content. Instead, use for item. Yeah, that makes sense. It's use for comprehensions kind of thing for Heeks templates. Heeks HTML comments use that syntax for template comments, right? So it's making sure you use that syntax. I don't know what the robot tries to use. Maybe just like regular HTML or something. I don't know. Heeks allows interpolation via but the only works within tag bodies. Always use the curly syntax for interpolation within tag attributes and for interpolation of values within tag bodies. Always interpolate block constructs. All right, that's a mouthful. I like that for these things. They have examples though, so it's like always do this, right? We're interpolating here, and you have the if complex contract there. Never do this. I love the capital letters, right? Is like it seems like it must be that Chris or whoever's writing this has run into this a lot, or maybe it's just like a really frustrating one. Right, it's just putting like EX template style here's stuff, right? And doing the inverse here. So nice.